I thought you were the best leader I ever coached. You were all about winning. It wasn't about how many points Greivis scored or anything like that. It was about winning.
Greivis Jose Vasquez Rodriguez, born January 16th, 1987. It goes by fast and you don't ever know when it's taken away. Wow, how fast this goes. Greivis Vasquez reflecting on his 7-season NBA career where he played for 6 teams, dealing with instability and major physical setbacks that took him from the game at just 30 years old. Many have requested this feature, and honestly, in the beginning, Greivis Vasquez wasn't a name swirling my mind when thinking of a story to focus hours on, until you realize how good and how important he was to just about everywhere he's played. As a transport player to America to further his basketball career, Vasquez understood one thing more than the American players he met upon arrival. This whole basketball thing is not promised and won't last forever, so I have to get the most out of it and remember to build lasting relationships in that time that can make life for me later a lot easier and much more progressive and enjoyable. The thing about players like Greivis Vasquez is they will never wow you on the court in typical high-flying ways or deep shooting that hits the crowd like bomb explosions. Instead, are loved and appreciated for all the small things that make teammates enjoy every moment playing with them, and for coaches, a dream on-court extension of themselves they never forget. Coach Gary Williams, Hall of Fame coach that's been coaching the game since 1969, over 40 years at the time, said to Vasquez, "You're the best leader I've ever coached," when he welcomed Greivis Vasquez into the University of Maryland's Athletic Hall of Fame. It was his #1 outstanding trait as a player, and one underestimated because you can't exactly quantify or write it down as a stat. But no good team wins without one or a few on their roster, and no great player isn't one himself or blessed to have one around. Leadership is partly what took the unathletic, slow 6'6" point guard to the top of his levels, first given the opportunity to come from Venezuela to one of the best high school programs at the time, earning a scholarship to a top college basketball school in the country in Maryland, who were also one of the best teams in arguably the toughest conference for years, to starting almost every game for them, improving every season, leaving behind a Hall of Fame career before being drafted in the first round of the NBA draft, and in your 3rd year lead the entire NBA in total assists and assists per game. Greivis Vasquez's importance was he just got it done. Coaches wanted him to lead their team and players loved playing with him. But with all that said, his 7-year NBA career doesn't exactly reflect that and has the lasting feeling of what happened to Greivis Vasquez, that things couldn't last a little longer. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to AKA Showtime for this request. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Greivis Vasquez was a 6'6" point guard from Caracas, Venezuela that came from a background of winning and overachieving on the court. He led his under-15 team to a FIBA South American Championship before offered the opportunity to move to the States and help Montrose Christian do the same. Along with Kevin Durant, he helped them to just 5 losses in 2 years, earning a scholarship from the University of Maryland, where by mid-season of his freshman year, he was a full-time starter. Always a floor general and always the most noticeable leader on the court. Vasquez improved his scoring every season at Maryland and was always an elite distributor, averaging over 6 assists twice in his 4 years, winning the ACC Player of the Year as a senior and the Bob Cousy Award for the best point guard in the country, beating out John Wall and Evan Turner, the 2 top picks in the draft months later. Stunt number 1, lacking traditional physical gifts. The last point in Greivis Vasquez's amateur history is very important. With John Wall and Evan Turner playing the point guard position on the same level as Vasquez, yet for him to be named a better point guard than both those guys How does 2 to 3 months later, a team that needs a point guard not take him over both Wall and Turner? It's because traditionally those guys had what it took to not just be a good point guard that can run the show, but they displayed what it took to be the show in a world that still revolves around entertainment. It's one of the glaring differences in the amateur game and the NBA. Not because you are dominant in college means your game and personality will translate to being good for an NBA team entertainment-wise and also physically, which is another aspect that plays a huge role in a player lasting over time in the league and how far they can take their dominance at the highest level. John Wall may not be the leader Greivis Vasquez was, but at the same time, Vasquez was not the athletic specimen John Wall was and had the potential to develop into. At his peak, Wall was arguably the fastest point guard in the game and jumped as high as any. This makes for great entertainment and is why Wall became a 5-time All-Star and franchise player for years. At the end of the day, the name of the game is still entertainment. Whoever has the most potential to do that will always get the nod over steady, slow down but effective play. Greivis Vasquez didn't have the quick speed, athleticism, or entertainment values coveted in the league. Instead, one's more suited to be a great college player, which is exactly the kind of career he'd end up having. One that shined bright as an amateur but overlooked in the entertainment world of the NBA. That can explain why after averaging 14 points and 9 assists in 78 games, he was still traded to the Sacramento Kings, who kept him for 18 games before trading him again. There were no highlight dunks over defenders like Derrick Rose, explosions to the rim on the fast break like John Wall, and no ferocious physical dominance like Westbrook, and it caused the gifted floor general to be often passed over. In a league, those things, sadly, are usually secondary. Stunt number 2, not enough elite talent. Another issue with a player like Greivis Vasquez was while he was a tremendous distributor in the right situation, he didn't stand out particularly in any other area. Right around the time it changed forever into a three-point shooting game, Vasquez was just an okay shooter, some would even call streaky, having seasons where he shot high 30s from deep to low 30s, mid, and even seasons in the 20%. His delivery was a bit slow, and his range in the NBA wasn't always consistent with the level going on around him, so looking at him as a shooter that can help your team wasn't always what coaches would find alluring. Was he fast? No. Explosive? No. Created space using his handle? No. Did he play above the rim on his attacks to the basket? Again, no. He didn't have the physical or elite ability to do any of those things, and is another reason he was overlooked. The things he was elite at, leading and passing, he wasn't always given the opportunity, clearly having played for 6 teams in 7 seasons and traded the year after leading the entire league in the one stat a point guard is supposed to be elite. Greivis Vasquez fit the mold of a backup to third-string point guard perfectly, not having enough elite talent for a team to say, this is who we want to represent us. It sucks and it's not fair, because one thing guys like Greivis Vasquez can do is win and make winning plays. But again, entertainment brings in dollars. The elite at entertaining usually wins out. Stunt number 3, injury forced him out the game. For the reasons above, Greivis Vasquez found himself in many different situations to begin seasons and even mid-season, moving on to a different scenery, but in December 2015, he would find himself in one that was new to him and everlasting to his basketball career. On the 15th of December 2015, he would have surgery on his right ankle to remove bone spurs and loose bodies floating around that made him uncomfortable in an attempt to continue playing the game he loved and was fighting for in the NBA. He admits that he was reluctant to have the procedure, but excited to see where it would take him should he get through it. He missed the rest of the 2015-2016 season, and essentially it ended his career forever. He'd come back to play 3 games with the Brooklyn Nets the next year, but the discomfort was too much to deal with and too apparent, leading to the Nets waiving him November 2016. Vasquez complained that sometimes it would be hard to simply walk on the surgically repaired ankle, much less think of an NBA comeback. And just like that, he was gone from the game at 30 years old. He began his coaching career in the G League and hopes to use his leadership skills to help younger guys get minutes in the NBA. All in all, Greivis Vasquez and players like him are important to the game because they show you can still make it even if physically you weren't blessed like some of your peers. With a great attitude and work ethic, anything can happen, and through those, he was able to make the top level of his career, even though for these reasons his growth was stunted. Salute, much respect, it's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.